So in this video, what I want to talk to you about is how to access the capital markets to raise financing for your business. And whenever you have a business idea, a business model that you have got in your hands, one of the first challenges is going to be for you to source financing, for you to get financing for your business idea. And it's very important to understand how to access these capital markets. And when I say capital markets, this is a term that I came across a couple of years ago. It literally means any market from which you can raise capital, whether it's investor, venture capital fund, private equity fund, or banks, which is my favorite. And you can also go to private lenders. And if you have something valid, something really which has property, something that has substance, you could raise capital. There is a high chance you would be able to raise capital when you have something solid. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And I'm also going to talk about the psyche within these capital markets, because I have done over several hundred presentations in the last few years. I've negotiated, a $10 million transaction. I've negotiated a $25 million transaction. I've also negotiated $3.5 million, $120 million, $140 million negotiations I've been part of. And I've also negotiated with large billion-dollar public companies. I have met royal family members. I have given pitches, presentations to them. And I have spoken with over 26 banks in the UAE, and that is all of them that are there in the UAE. There are about 26 banks, including HSBC, Citibank, Credit Suisse, Barclays, and the local banks, which are fairly larger in size. So I speak from that experience, and it's important to understand the philosophy behind it, the mindset behind it, before you enter these markets, and to understand what are these people looking for, whether it's an investor or a bank. And I'm going to be covering that in detail, because once you understand how somebody thinks, it's very easy to influence them and to sell them your idea, because then you can have those talking points. So let's get started. One of the mindsets that I have seen in myself and around me is that people go to investors or banks thinking that these guys are sitting there to give you money so that you could fulfill your dreams, right? You're going there, it's an angel investor, it's an angel who is really literal purposes. They have worked all their life so that they can meet a young entrepreneur and they can, give their hand to them, and then they can get them to transform and them to make their dreams happen. And that is not the motivation of an investor. Okay, the investor is not sitting to write checks to make donations. And it's very important to understand the distinction that the investor is actually sitting there to multiply his money without doing any work. And he wants you to do work, and he's there to give as little money as possible and get as much equity as possible, or the banks as little money as possible and get as much collateral as possible. Okay, so they are sitting from a very selfish point of view, and they are also sitting from a very scared point of view, is because they have worked hard to make this money and they're very attached to it, and they're going to ask you a lot of questions. And these questions are coming from fear and fear of risk, because future is uncertain. And you as an entrepreneur, you have to do your homework to get the risks out of the way and to really give some assurance that you have something of substance, and you should have something of substance. It has to be an honest transaction. Not to mention, this is a very regulated space. So if you raise money from investors or banks, understand it's a very regulated space. You need a lawyer, you need a financial expert. I'm going to talk about that as well. So first thing to understand is that these guys are not there to fulfill your dreams. These guys are there to fulfill their own dreams with minimum effort and minimum risk possible and have the highest return. Okay, they want to give this much and they want that much. That's the fundamental psyche. And they're there for their own selfish reasons. So if your pitch is about your own dream and your own passion for the project and how good it is, well, that's not good enough, because these guys don't think that way. These guys don't care about your passion. These guys don't care how much you care about the project or how much you need the money. In fact, these guys, the more money you need, the less likely they're going to give you the money. Okay. If they feel that you could lend them money, you could give them money, and you are bringing them on your team to grow, and this is a high growth opportunity, the train is leaving, that kind of a frame, then they're more likely to buy into it. And again, it's not just about a frame, it has to be legitimate. You have to have proper arguments, but that's just one of the things. The whole demeanor and the vibe has to be that this is something legitimate. We have many people interested and you could be one of them. This is the growth opportunity, etc., etc. So they're there sitting from a selfish point of view. And this reminds me of a conversation that I had. I have a friend who was listed on a Forbes 30 under 30. He managed to raise some capital from investors, and he was going on investor summit to investor summit, And these are investor summits that have trillions of dollars. This is not an exaggerated number, but there is one investment summit that happens where top decision makers from banks, family offices, private institutions, commercial institutions, all come to this investment summit. And these people represent some of the largest funds in the world and some of the largest family offices in the world, including royal family members. So the entire room cumulatively have a few $1 trillion. It was one of the largest investment summits. And to give you a perspective, Grant Cardone was at once in this summit. Okay, he's a billionaire and he was there raising money. Okay, at one point, a couple of years ago. So this friend of mine, he goes to this investment summit and he has strong people on his board, on his team, and he does pitch after pitch after pitch. And he goes from investment summit to investment summit, and he wasn't getting funding. So me and him, he gave me a call. He's from Holland. So he gave me a call. He said, "Prithvi, I'm in Dubai. Let's meet for a dinner." And I said, sure. So we went to Zuma and we were sitting down and we were like, isn't it amazing, Prithvi, that I'm negotiating with royal family members and you are doing big things yourself? And we were just a couple of kids with big dreams. I said, yes, it's great. And he said, can you look at my pitch and give me a feedback? And I said, sure. And then he said, I'm not able to get the funding. Maybe you could give me a feedback. And I said, sure. And he said, he had this concept of a water bottle which would revolutionize the way you package water. And these water bottles would decompose and disintegrate, and it was biodegradable, and it would cause less pollution to the environment. And it was a great idea. And he was doing a lot of pitches, and he was selling this idea, and he wasn't going so much into the numbers. And the investor is listening to the idea from the standpoint of making money, and this guy is pitching the idea from a standpoint of changing the world. And so I told him, you got to make up your mind. Are you a charity? Are you asking for a donation where they give you money and they don't get anything back and they can forget about their money because it's a donation? Or are you selling an opportunity where they can make money? And he's like, I said, there's nothing wrong with changing the world, or there's nothing wrong with coming up with an idea that could change the world. But that's not the reason why an investor would invest, just because it changes the world. Yeah, I'm going to work 30 years of my life. I'm going to make this money. And my several generations before me have worked all their lives and made this money. I'm going to just give it a shot into a high risk opportunity that may change the world. It doesn't make any sense. So I told him, you got to talk about profit. And then he had such a resistance, How can we talk about profit? And, it's not all about money. And I was like, you're a businessman and business is about money. So the investor sitting there is listening to your pitch from a selfish point of view. and you got to make a case how this water bottle is going to make them money. Okay, it's good that it's biodegradable. It's good that it's going to change the world, and it's, but is it going to make money? That's what you need to pitch to the investor. And for the customer who would buy this bottle, if one bottle costs 50 cents and your bottle costs $2 because it's biodegradable, well, the customer is also selfish. So he's also going to say, why should I buy a more expensive bottle just because it's biodegradable? Maybe you do it once in a while to feel good, but why would you always do it? People are struggling with money and people want to reduce their expenses. So they're not going to do it unless you make it cheap. And then I gave him an example of Elon Musk, the way he did a presentation to promote Tesla Roadster, where he not only talked about that how electric cars is going to change the world and the environment, he created a pitch how an electric car is going to be better than the petroleum car, and it's going to cost you much cheaper to own it because you're not spending so much money on gas. So he created a financial argument, and he catered to the psyche, the selfish psyche of the person listening, the customer. And that is what is going to get the guy to buy. If it's financially beneficial, it's not because it's a great idea. That's not the reason Tesla sells. It's also a great car. It also has tremendous amount of performance linked to it. So he's selling performance. He's selling cost savings. He's selling longevity. He's selling safety. And by the way, it also happens to be electric and it's good for the environment. So that's now the moment he flipped the script and he made it about the result, and then this electric thing came as a bonus, like, oh wow, so now this is on top. So your idea, your pitch has to be around that. And suddenly his whole mind clicked and he was like, thank you, thank you for the feedback. And a couple of months later, I spoke to him, he had raised some money. So just that little shift of that psyche in his presentation, and he saved himself a lot of effort. Another example where I was with a royal family member, I was doing a pitch, and he was very skeptical. From the beginning, he was like, I don't know, healthcare, I don't know. There are a lot of stories going on in the market. I'm very skeptical. I'm going to say it upfront. He was a very upfront guy. I said, appreciate it. I was introduced to him by one of my board members. So I was sitting, I was very respectful. I listened to him and I said, listen, here is the thing. You're not investing in anything that is intangible, that is just an idea. We are not selling ideas here. We are not interested in high risk opportunities. We are very conservative. We are very risk averse. And it's true, I am. And I said, listen, we are not looking at something that doesn't exist. A lot of the people come to you asking you for money and they give you an idea. They make you invest in an idea and there's no substance. What we will bring to you, when we will bring to you, is a business that's already established and a business that's already profiting. So on day one, you would know how much money you're making on this. We don't like uncertainty. We don't like risk. And you will know that this business, since last 15 years, it has been producing this amount of money. You will be able to analyze the past and you will see the business has a track record and you see how much of it you want. And we are not in the business of turning around companies. We are not in the business of identifying loss-making opportunities and trying to fix it and turn it around. We are looking at profitable companies that have a huge potential in the future, and we are combining several profitable companies together. So each opportunity by opportunity, you would be able to assess whether this is something you want to get into or not. And what the numbers would be actual. You can actually visit the facility and you can see how the business is run and you can see the cash flows are there. So you're profitable from day one. We're not creating anything from scratch. We are buying something that already exists. It's a very different kind of business. And we like that because when you're creating something from scratch, there is too many uncertainties, there's too much risk, and we're not in the business of that. We are in the business of buying something that has worked, that's already working, that's already making money. And boom, his eyes went up and he was like, I like this guy. He has a strong basis, a strong business model, and he's here and he's going to present the opportunity, financials of a company that already exists, is producing money, has big margins, and I will be able to see it clearly. Not projections of about the future, but the present and the past. What has already happened, what the result. He's bringing me the result, and I can choose to enter into it. And it's a much easier pitch to sell than an idea that's vague. I'm not against innovative ideas. It's just very risky. The investor wants to see you put the money to make something happen. Once you start having cash flows, then you go to the investor, and then you have leverage. But to raise money upfront, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It happens. So one of the things that they see is the cash flows. How much money am I going to make? How am I going to make that money? Show me. Send me the numbers. Show me. What's the basis of these projections? How are you basing this? How are you basing that? They're very skeptical. And when you have a business that you're buying, it's already producing cash flow. It's already producing sales. It's a slam dunk because you can just show that. You're not coming up with creative ideas. You're just showing what the fact is. You like it, don't like it, 40% margin, 30% margin, profit margin from day one. Do you want it priced conservatively, low risk? You want it, yes or no? So first reason, you get into business to make sales. Okay? Business changes life and it changes the world. I understand, but that's not the purpose. The purpose is profit and sales. Profit comes from sales. So the top line of the income statement is sales. Sales, money. And then you have expenses and then you've got profit. How much money is your business making? Or how much money the opportunity that you brought is making money? And you may say, oh, nothing. Well, then the likelihood of you raising money goes down tremendously. Versus if you have something already established, making money, a business that you want to buy, they already have sales. They're already making money and it's big margin. It's easy. So the investor, the money chases cash flow. Money chases income. You get into business to produce income, not to pursue your passion or change the world. It's better if it does change the world. It's better if you are passionate about it, but the primary reason always have to be profit, and you have to have the conversation around money and cash flow. So money flow is always chasing cash flows. Second thing, management of the operations. How do you do that? Experience. Simple. So that's the first thing they will see is the cash flow. The second thing they will see is what's the experience of your team. And if you're a one-man show going into these presentations, you're going to have a lot of problem. And if you don't have some gray hair around you, you may be a young entrepreneur, but if you don't have gray hair, they love gray hair. They love big names, investors and banks. They love big names on your team. They want names that my mentor used to say, you want names you don't have to explain about. One of my business partners is a chairman, is a CEO was a CEO of a $3.5 billion company. Now he's a name you don't have to explain about. I have another person who was a senior partner in KPMG. Now KPMG is one of the top accounting firms. He's got 30 years of experience. People know him. You don't have to explain about him. I've got a top lawyer that has done a $13 billion deal. You don't have to explain about him either. So when I walk in with these names on my board and on my team, boy, and I have something that's already producing cash flow, and these people have done work on this, and we have assessed the risk, and you disclose the risk. You tell them what the risk is and how you have come up with a way to mitigate it. And you're transparent, you have something of substance, you have experience behind it, you have a solid case. And you've priced the opportunity conservatively, you've negotiated hard with the seller that you're buying, you've structured the deal in a way that you're paying little cash upfront and the rest is going to be delayed and based on some successful metrics. You've reduced the risk. You have come up with a structure that has reduced the risk significantly. It's priced properly. There is a huge upside and it's producing cash flow. And now you are completely aligned with their psyche, their risk profile, and you have a solid case. So until you have experience on your team, a solid business plan, business model of how you're going to grow, which is our business model is buying businesses. We don't create anything from scratch. That's my USP. We don't create anything from scratch. We buy established businesses which are profitable at a discounted price. That's it. So I've got a solid business model. I've got experienced team from legal, finance, accounting, operations. Experience on the board. I've got 200 years of experience on my team. You have the experience. And then I have a business that's profitable. Not one, but I would propose several. And you've got a lot of cash flow. They can see the money, they can smell the money, the financials are audited, legitimate, and boom. You're like, wow, this is amazing. It's something of substance. It exists. It's not in someday fairy tale land. It's right here. And I can choose this guy with all of these people. I can invest in cash flows, or I can invest some other mooch who is coming with his, brother-in-law and couple of friends starting a company, and they don't have anything. So whom will I put my money to? The decision is pretty simple. So when you're competing for money, it's always good to have as much leverage as possible. When you go in with experience on your team, when you go in with already identifying a business that's producing cash flow, you have a solid business plan, and the industry is another factor. You have to be positioned in a profitable industry that's going to be high growth, that's hot with investors. People have made money in that industry, so they have a strong bias for it. Healthcare is that industry. There are many others, but some people have a bias towards certain industries. So you want to find people who invest in those industries, who have made money in those industries, who have multiplied the money in those industries, and you want to pitch to them. They'll be more likely to invest. So that's an overview of how to access capital markets. If you want to be mentored by me, I have a mentorship program. I offer one-on-one and group. Before, the group wasn't there. Now I've introduced the group. And what you will learn is how to buy businesses using banks' money. Okay. So I will put you in a position where you would be in a position to buy multi-million-dollar businesses in a profitable sector. So I would help you to clarify your business model, your business plan, go into the market and find these experienced individuals from legal, finance, accounting, and operations background, whatever industry that you choose. I recommend healthcare, because it has big margins and a lot of businesses you can buy, multi-million-dollar businesses. I help you put your team together. I help you get your high-profile professional accounting firms and law firms on your team. I help you identify and create relationships with the banks in your region, top high-profile bankers, and I help you find these multi-million-dollar businesses that you can buy, help negotiate with them, analyze the deal with your board members, come up with the structure, and then get financing to close the deal. So if you are interested to put yourself in a position to do this, there are several steps involved. It's a detailed process. If you want to learn this from you, if from me, if you want to get started on this process, reach out to me on email, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I'm going to leave the links below. You can find me and I'll talk to you soon. Typically, I make you write a form because this is only for serious individuals who want to make their dreams a reality, who are serious about executing the steps, who are willing to take risk. There's no glory without some risk. And, if you have to be serious and you have to be focused, and I will see that, I will send you a form. And once you fill the form, I will assess if this is the right fit or not, because it's going to cost my time. It's going to cost your time as well. It's important to assess how serious you are. And then we'll do a free consultation call. I do one consultation call for free. On that call, we will discover, how to position you, what your plan is, and then we'll move you to either a one-on-one or a group program based on your preference. So if that's you, if you're interested, if you're a serious entrepreneur who wants to learn how to, and who wants to put themselves in a position to buy multi-million-dollar businesses and secure these advisors and have this career, reach out to me and we'll talk soon.